A military base in Colorado becomes a base for Trump's mass deportations. The president seizes control of government spending, ordering a freeze, sending hospitals, schools, and nonprofits scrambling, and the state of Colorado says it'll sue. A group that helps immigrants is ordered to stop.
They're now being stripped of having access to information and due process.
A controversial school board member censured for flirting with a 16-year-old student is back working at a middle school in Denver. And a debate over a gun bill at the Capitol. Both sides can't even agree on what it would ban. That's tonight on Next. Buckley Space Force Base in Aurora is getting involved with immigration enforcement. Leaders there said today that the military base is being used for holding and processing of immigrants rounded up in President Donald Trump's mass deportations. Now, this is critically important because one of the things that the Trump administration lacks to carry out its promise of the largest deportation in American history is the detention space, the place to hold and process people in a roundup that Trump has claimed could involve more than 20 million people in this country illegally. The base says the Department of Homeland Security requested ICE use Buckley as a temporary operations center and holding location. Trump has falsely claimed that the city of Aurora has been conquered by a Venezuelan gang, and he's promised to start a mass deportation of gang members here in Colorado. NBC News is reporting that ICE will begin large-scale roundups in Aurora as soon as Thursday morning. ICE hit Chicago on Sunday and New York City today, targeting people in the country without legal authorization. Trump has said that he wants local police to be his deportation force. That would be illegal under Colorado law. He's also talked about the military being used for roundups. We have asked Buckley for clarification on this, whether its personnel will be working at this deportation facility. The base did say that the operation is going to be staffed by ICE and by other federal agents. The Trump administration caused chaos in Colorado and around the country today with a threat to freeze trillions of dollars in federal spending at 5 p.m. The administration then tried to clarify and walk back its order before a federal judge temporarily blocked the spending freeze this afternoon. It's been an emotional day of confusion and whiplash for people on Medicaid, people with student loans, Head Start programs, veterans, nonprofits. The Trump administration says this freeze is only temporary, while it makes sure that all federal spending aligns with President Trump's agenda. Now, typically Congress controls spending, but the Republicans in control of Congress appear willing to hand that over to Trump. The administration says that programs that provide so-called direct assistance, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, student loans, food stamps, would not be affected. But then there was a temporary outage of the Medicaid payment portal today. Trump's memo was vague about what services would be impacted. The Office of Management and Budget has directed federal agencies to review a long list of programs, food services, highway funding, river conservation, tribal workforce development, special education, all to determine whether they might promote things opposed by Trump, like diversity, equity, and inclusion, gender ideology, and abortion. The Colorado Nonprofit Association called the spending freeze a, quote, unprecedented attack on the nonprofit sector. Individual nonprofits in Colorado are scrambling to figure out if they will be cut off from funding. The Denver Indian Center, which serves indigenous communities around the metro area, announced it will pause its services.
You know, anytime you have uncertainty, you have difficulty in planning and going forward with programmatic systems that you have in place. Our effort here is to work with the community and help the community, and the services we provide, they take resources.
The court order stopping Trump's funding freeze only puts it on hold until Monday. There are other legal challenges coming. Colorado's Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser says the state of Colorado will join a lawsuit with other states challenging Trump's power grab over government spending. They say it's unconstitutional. Our Marshall Zellinger set out amid today's chaos and confusion to figure out what this is going to mean for hundreds of millions of dollars for Coloradans.
And resolve this. But I would say between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. was a very busy time.
For a short time on Tuesday, organizations that rely on federal dollars, like Denver Health, did not know if that money would be available by the end of the day.
We get about $89 million from the federal government for a variety of programs, community clinics, research, etc.
President Trump tried to freeze federal spending today, creating confusion for much of the day. Confusion even from allies of President Trump.
So I wanted to take a minute to lay out what we know.
Republican Congressman Gabe Evans was not quite clear when trying to clear up what federal funding was at risk.
We do know that programs that directly pay individuals will not be affected by the freeze. We also don't know how this will affect student loans or Head Start programs. We're waiting for more specifics on that.
Not knowing how it impacts Head Start would be a $120 million question mark. That's how much Colorado providers receive to help educate 11,000 low-income children. Though in a new memo this afternoon, the president's budget team said funds for Head Start would not be paused. Today was a good lesson on learning who relies on federal funds. More than 1/3 of the budget for Colorado's Department of Public Health and Environment is paid for through federal money. The biggest chunk of that is for WIC, helping women, infant, and children purchase healthy foods and get nutrition services. That's $92 million. Immunizations for local health agencies get $53 million. Nutritious food at adult and child care centers, $29 million. And the Ryan White Act, which provides HIV and AIDS care for those with low incomes, that gets $19 million. Tonight, a judge blocked the federal funding freeze following a lawsuit by 22 states, including Colorado.
They're in red states and they're in blue states. And so depriving people of those needed health care services is going to have catastrophic impacts on the health of the population, but also, quite frankly, politics.
The way the day was explained to me is, imagine you personally had plans for tonight, or you had a vacation coming up, and the money you expected to use for that was suddenly not in your account or would not be in your account. State and local governments rely on federal money. Nonprofits rely on it. Schools, police. Each of those entities need to start reviewing how it pays for services, Kyle, just in case the money they expect never arrives.
So the Trump administration puts out this sweeping order that is clear as mud. And then when people are like, well, this would be catastrophic and this would be catastrophic, then they come out and say, well, those things aren't included. And why are you fools even worried about that? They're like mocking people for being confused about an unclear order.
The follow-up memo that said, no, we're really targeting programs that fund these things that we no longer want to fund, would have been more clarifying as the initial memo or order instead of a halt to everything so we can review that we're not paying for things that we as an administration no longer want to support.
Marcia Zellinger, thank you very much. Not all the people arrested by ICE and its partner agencies now doing immigration enforcement are actually eligible for deportation. We know from past experience some of the people picked up will turn out to be American citizens. Others will be immigrants with legal authorization to be here. People ending up in detention in Colorado now will have fewer resources to fight deportation because of an order from the Trump administration ending that organization's work. Our Angeline McCall explains.
On Trump's first day in office, multiple executive orders that targeted undocumented immigrants. And by Trump's second day, a notice to the Rocky Mountain Immigrant Advocacy Network remained.
We received a stop work order saying that we were no longer allowed to conduct any of the work that we do under 3 programs.
How much of your overall programs do these 3 programs make up?
It's about 25% of our work. And I think what is even more alarming than the impact on Remain is really what it means in terms of access for folks who are before both immigration courts in Colorado.
Executive Director Michaela Goring says the 3 programs provide legal information to those detained at the ICE facility in Aurora, as well as critical services in immigration court.
It's essentially creating a black hole for people that are going into these very complex and complicated legal proceedings.
Only about 15% of those in detention proceedings have legal representation, a number advocates worry will only become lower with limitations on nonprofits.
Barring attorneys putting stop work orders on attorneys who are there to support public interest and to support individuals' rights is the antithesis of what I think most of us in the United States think of as our values about the rule of law.
As of right now, federal funding is cut off for these 3 programs to continue, leaving Remain wondering how they can help people who will have better outcomes if lawyers are involved.
But we are very committed to trying to do everything that we can because we know how critical this type of information is for folks.
Studies have shown that when a lawyer is indeed involved, the client is 10 times more likely to win their case in immigration court than without a lawyer. In fact, it's through these services that many people learn that they may qualify for some kind of status, for instance, temporary or permanent.
You know, it's interesting. I think so much of it is seen as a black and white, you know, that people are either here legally or boom, you're out. But there's this entire court process that's set up to figure out, like, do people have valid claims under American law to stay? The system that's been set up like that. And as you point out, people either are or are not getting help navigating that system.
Yeah, it's very complicated, right? And so when you're dealing with so many complicated laws, so many changing policies, people can naturally be confused about where they fall. And so yes, they say that they do have people, that it's not until a lawyer actually gets in front of them that they say, hey, do you know that you qualify for this, or do you qualify for this? And this may mean that, you know, you don't qualify for removal.
All right, Angeline McCall, appreciate your continued reporting on this. Today, the Trump administration announced an investigation of a school bathroom in Colorado. Controversial Denver school board member censured for flirting with a student has a new job with the district, working in a middle school. And Colorado Democrats bring back a gun ban proposal, insisting that it is not a gun ban proposal. The Trump administration is very interested in a bathroom at a high school in Denver. Bathroom on the second floor at East High School, to be specific. The Trump administration has announced it is investigating that bathroom because it can be used by anyone of any gender. The U.S. Department of Education sent a letter to Superintendent Alex Marrero saying that the district violated Title IX by discriminating against female students when the school converted a girls' bathroom into an all-gender bathroom. We reported on this earlier in the month. DPS said the idea to convert the restroom came from East High students who asked for that accommodation. District said it was just easier to convert the girls' restroom to a gender-neutral restroom because they already have toilets that can be used by everyone. There are male and female restrooms on the other floors at East. 2 other DPS schools also have gender-neutral bathrooms. Aonta Anderson, the controversial former Denver school board member once censured for online flirting with a 16-year-old student, is now working at a middle school in DPS. Anderson's been quietly working at Manual Middle School as a restorative justice coordinator since November. His 4 years on the school board were marked by scandals, controversies, and very public dysfunction with his colleagues. In 2021, an investigation substantiated that Anderson flirted with a 16-year-old DPS student online. Anderson said he stopped when he learned her age. The investigation also found he intimidated witnesses on multiple occasions during the investigation. He was censured by his board colleagues unanimously. Only he voted against it, with the board president saying that the investigation found, quote, behavior that would have been grounds for disciplinary action for any DPS employee who behaved in the same manner. Well, today, DPS told me he is now an employee. They stressed that hiring decisions are up to individual schools, not the district. They pointed out correctly that Anderson was never charged with a crime. Anderson declined to comment.
After 2 spring-like days with mild weather, dry conditions, lots of sunshine, in comes the next weather maker from Southern California. This system is moving into southern Colorado, but southerly winds ahead of it are keeping our temperatures very comfortable. Yesterday, 51, today, 49, even some 60s in eastern Colorado. Moisture will be increasing in the southern mountains tonight and tomorrow. Denver stays dry until tomorrow night. When a wave of rain and snow showers come in, it's possible that wave could move north and hit the metro area with a quick inch or 2 of snow. This system is out of here on Thursday. Winter weather and travel advisories will go out for the southern mountains and foothills, where we'll see the greatest impact and greatest accumulation amounts in that 6 to 10, even 12-inch range above 8,000 feet. No advisories for snow or travel in Denver. So we'll look for temperatures in the mid-40s tomorrow, with a chance for some snow showers Wednesday night into Thursday morning and then clearing. But notice temperatures are not that cold. Quick moving system. We're back to 50s and sunshine for the weekend, possibly 60s early next week.
Don't call it a gun ban. Democrats at the state capitol prefer that we call it a gun safety bill that just reinforces a years-old state law. Take a closer look. And Aurora City leaders want to speed up homeless sweeps. whether or not people have anywhere to go. And a reminder, you can catch Next streaming each weeknight, 6 p.m. on 9 News Plus, which is free to download, and Next is now a podcast. Find us wherever you get stuff for your ears. After years of trying and failing to pass a ban on so-called assault weapons, Democrats at the state capitol are back with an effort that would restrict the kinds of high-powered guns sold and manufactured here. Latest proposal would prohibit semi-autos with detachable magazines. Republicans and gun lobbyists say it essentially is a gun ban. The bill is co-sponsored by Democratic Senator Tom Sullivan from Aurora, whose son Alex was killed in the Aurora theater shooting. If this bill passes, it would outlaw the sale or purchase of semi-automatic rifles or shotguns that accept detachable magazines and use ammunition larger than .22 caliber. Now, people could still own those guns if they purchased them before the law would take effect. They just could not buy a new one or sell it or transfer ownership. The bill's Democratic sponsors say this is an attempt to enforce a 2013 law that banned high-capacity magazines and close a loophole, allowing gun stores to continue selling those magazines in parts. Gun rights advocates and people who sell firearms in our state say the rules are too restrictive and it would decimate sales of popular guns like the AR-15.
It will not impact a single firearm you presently own. This will be about the next one. Possibly the first one for the next mass shooter in our state.
These fixed magazine rifles, while they are manufactured, are so incredibly rare the manufacturers would have to be completely redesign the most commonly purchased firearm in the country.
Bill faces its first vote tonight in a Senate committee. Legislators are still hearing public comment right now. The sponsors, the supporters, have already floated some amendments that would carve out exceptions for gunsmiths, for law enforcement, for hunters, as well as for prop guns that fire blanks. The city of Aurora is considering removing its 72-hour notice and its shelter requirements to sweep homeless encampments in the city. Council voted 6-3 to move that to a final vote. This follows a Supreme Court decision over the summer ruling that local governments can enforce camping bans. In June, Aurora City Council approved a camping ban along the I-225 corridor and set up a designated court system for people living on the streets. This latest ordinance removes a requirement that the city provide shelter or any notice before doing a sweep. Supporters insisted that this was a compassionate way to approach homelessness. Opponents have said it's just plain inhumane. This will come up for a final vote on February 10th. We're back with your feedback next. Feedback from Shirley, who says, please report something positive. There must be something that you can find. Shirley, you got to remember, for folks in Colorado who support mass deportations, who support drastic drops in federal spending, those items are positive news for them. Different people are going to have different reactions. Neil says, can you please get on Blue Sky, the newer social media network? I am, Neil. Just search for my name. In fact, Dave on Blue Sky sends feedback, writing, serious question. How do you keep up with all of this stuff? It seems overwhelming. If you're talking about the nonstop action and even chaos involving the Trump administration, the thing you have to keep in mind is it is overwhelming by design. They've acknowledged it. It's a political strategy to flood the zone on multiple fronts at once. As a journalist, it's not my job to support or oppose policy. It is my job to not be overwhelmed.